I was in Charlotte. I was in Charlotte a couple of weeks ago at an event called the Taste of Charlotte Festival. It was real good too, man. Shout out all the vendors that participated. Man, that food was good. It was super good. It was a fantastic event. My personal favorite was the Roof Chris table, which was a surprise to me because I'm really not a Roof Chris fan like that normally. But man, they had some steak and shrimp that was bussin'. I'm talking about, ooh, man, that thing was juicy. They gave you a lot for a little bit of money. It's one of the festivals where you go table to table and sample different things or whatever. But I got full out that junk, and it was delicious. Shout out to all the participants, all the vendors who had a booth. But anyway, I was out there with my commander's attire. You know how I do. I think I had the Terry McLaurin tee, one of them jersey tees. I had on, and everywhere I was walking, man, I'm talking about more times than I can even remember. It was Commanders fans coming up to me saying something to the effect of, "Hey, this our year. Hey, they better watch out for us this year. Hey, we gonna make some noise this year. It's our year." You know what I'm saying? Sidebar though, sidebar real quick. Charlotte, North Carolina, if y'all ain't know, is definitely Commanders country. All right. Redskins, Commanders fans, we run Charlotte. All right, it's a little bit of a Cowboys delegation. They got a little Steelers delegation. The Panthers do all right, but make no mistake, Charlotte is Redskins country for sure. For sure. One day I'll do a podcast on how that came to be and what I've learned since I've been down here. But Charlotte is definitely Redskin country. All right. But I digress. It was way too many times that I can count that somebody was coming up to me talking about this our year. We gonna make some noise this year. We gonna do it this year. Matter of fact, one of the first dudes that came up to me, it looked it looked like it was about to be a little bit of a situation at first, man. This dude, I'm in the line trying to get some barbecue, and man, this dude came up to me, stranger, don't know him from Adam and Eve, came up to me, and I mean, this guy, um, trying to think of a politically correct way of describing this guy, but let's just say he looked like a thug. Okay, he looked thuggish. He looked pretty. He had the thug. He had the thug uniform on. He had the gold toofuses. They was blinging. He looking at me like my man. What's his name? Cuddy from Dead Presidents. Forgot the actor name. Really though. Okay, I'm talking about when he played Chauncey in Menace. Remember when Chauncey in Menace? The way he was looking at the white dude at the door, the white dude came, try to get him to steal some cars, whatever. The way Chauncey was looking at that white dude, that's how dude was looking at me. He was looking at the white dude like he was about to slap him, for no reason. Then he ended up slapping him upside the back of the head, on some, "Go get up out of here" type stuff. But that's how dude was looking at me. So I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's about to happen. I got my wife with me. I got my grandson with me. What is this dude up to, man? This dude just walk up to me like he got bad intentions. So I'm like, Len, man, what are you about to do? I'm trying to get my moves together. And right when I'm somewhere in that mode, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, dude reach his hand out to shake my hand. So I shake his hand. And right when I'm shaking his hand, he say, yeah, so this our year. We gonna make some noise this year. Yeah, this our year. We gonna do it this year. And because of the way he approached me, I still wasn't quite sure what he was talking about, but he did a quick glance down at my commander shirt as if to say, "Hey, Commander's MFer. You know what I'm talking about." So I'm like, "Oh, snap. Yeah, yeah, most def. Yeah, this our year, Slim. Yeah, we gonna do it this year." Yeah. And dude just walk away. Just like that. I was like, "Whew, goodness gracious. What in the world going on in Charlotte, North Carolina?" Um, And then, I mean, after that encounter, I mean, it was just encounter after encounter where folks is like, "This is our year." So, you know, I was thinking about that other day, and I was like, "You know what? This is our year." Yeah, yeah. This is our year where we take that step to let everyone out there know that we a serious problem right now. We are a serious problem right now. All right. And the reason I'm so confident that we're gonna be a problem is because of my confidence in the fact that injuries and all that aside from last year, all everything that happened, last year with the injuries and all that, Jaden Daniels, all that aside, we have significantly upgraded the roster and scheme. I'm gonna say it one more time. We have significantly upgraded the roster and the scheme this offseason. Now it's just a matter of us executing on the field. That's it. And I think, well, no, I know we're gonna do it. I know we're gonna execute on the field. We have upgraded the roster and the scheme significantly. And now it's just time to execute on the field. Let's get it, Slim.
Skins in a bird, skins in a bird. Don't know if you heard, we got skins in a bird. Skins in a bird, skins in a bird. Don't know if you heard, we got skins in a bird. 82, 87, 91, think the time.
Welcome to the Skins in the Bird podcast, your best source for Commanders commentary in the Carolinas and beyond. I'm your host, LG, and this is Skins in the Bird episode number 8. Number 8. And I was just talking about how, we've upgraded the roster and the scheme. And we gonna dissect that notion all summer long, leading up to training camp. We're gonna dissect the notion of how we've upgraded the roster in a series, called State of the Roster. We're gonna have several installments on our State of the Roster series as we dissect each position group. All right, I'm gonna talk about the roster and break down this thing position by position. All right, we're gonna talk about where we are talent wise at each position. All right, what's the scheme gonna do to maximize that talent? The skill sets that these guys possess. What's the scheme gonna do to maximize the skill sets that these guys possess? We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into the competition at each of these positions, not only for some roster spots leading into cut day, all right, but also certain roles and playing time within the roster. We got some of that up for grabs this training camp. Who's going to mesh and fit into what role? Who's going to get all the playing time? Who's going to be the go-to guys? All right, who's going to be the major contributors at each position? And look, we may think we have an idea on who those major contributors are, but hey, we could be up for some surprises. All right, we could be up for some stuff we ain't see coming. Some guys that come out of nowhere at training camp and make their mark and end up being major contributors this season. All right, so each episode we're gonna break down a different position leading into training camp. All right, for our State of the Roster series. All right, but before we get into all that, something I was thinking about the other day, that I want to talk about. Something I heard said about 3.5 years ago that I never forgot. I never forgot this. Someone said this, that in the DMV we probably would rather forget that they even came through because of the results on the field. He's a nice enough guy, but if you really think about it, we could miss that whole Ron Rivera era. The only thing positive I can say about the Ron Rivera era is that it brought us a sale of the team by Dan Snyder. All right, probably without that Ron Rivera era, Dan Snyder probably still owns the team. So that's one thing I can say that came out of that Ron Rivera era. But something he said though, after I think it was after he was already fired. Somebody was asking him about Josh Harris and the direction that he wants to go, and he was talking about how Josh Harris wants to build the team from the middle out on both sides of the ball, meaning he wants to prioritize building that team literally from who's in the middle of the field first, who's up in like offense and defensively, who's in the middle of the field first, and making an attempt at becoming elite at who's in the middle of the field first. All right. Then building out the rest of the field inside out. All right, inside out, building that middle first and then branching out and building the rest of the team. So what that looks like, first on defense, what that looks like is the middle of your D line. So like your nose tackle, or your defensive tackles in a 3-4 or 4-3 respectively, depending on what you got. Then your middle linebacker and your safety. And yes, I know you're gonna have two safeties. You're gonna have your strong safety and your free safety, but I'm more so talking about the guy, the guy that's roaming the middle of the field, making all the calls in the secondary, making numerous plays on the football in the passing game. All right, that guy. I'm talking about the guy that's really in the middle of that field, making plays in the passing game as far as the safety position. So the middle of your defensive line, your middle linebacker, and then your safety that's really making plays in the middle of the defense. All right. So hey, let's take a look. So 3.5 years ago, Ron Rivera said that Josh Harris wants to build this thing from the middle out. So 3.5 years later, let's do a quick assessment on that. I may be, I don't know, I may be a little bit too much on the 3.5, 2.5, maybe three, whatever. But let's take a look. All right, so in the middle of the defensive line, let's start there. In the middle of the defensive line, we've got a combination of Deron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, and Jerzon Newton. Also Tim Settle. We signed him in the offseason. Let's not forget about him. Because in the 3-4 defense, Tim Settle might be our best candidate at being the nose guard in the 3-4 defense. And that's looking like the early assessment through OTAs and minicamp is that we're looking like a base 3-4 defense. So in a base 3-4 defense, it may be that Tim Settle becomes your nose tackle. But we've got Deron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, Jerzon Newton, and Tim Settle. All right. Our defense that we're looking at deploying via Durante Jones as the D coordinator coming out of Minnesota. By all accounts, we're looking at being that attacking defense that has a bunch of guys up on the line of scrimmage and you don't know who's coming versus who's dropping back. All right, that's just a quick assessment of what that looks like on the field. You got a bunch of guys right there on the line of scrimmage. You're like, oh no, are they sending 11? And then some guys drop back, some guys move forward. You don't know who's really coming. And you need versatility at all those positions to make that really go. All right. So in that type of defense, what you really need from your defensive linemen is you need guys that's going to command double teams. That's what you need. You need guys going to command double teams, and you need linebackers, or who have safeties shooting in, making plays while these guys is commanding double teams. I think in the case of Payne and Newton, they can command double teams, but they can also make plays in the backfield. All right, they make plays in the backfield. Jerron Kinlaw, I don't know about how many plays he can make. I think he can command a double team just on his sheer size alone. He probably could command a double team. But let me go ahead and say this and get this out of the way. All right, this is the one position right here where I think we could stand to use an upgrade. I'm talking about on the entire team. This is the one position where we could probably use an upgrade. And when I say upgrade, I mean that one guy that's a superstar that's going to have everybody up at night. This is probably the position where we could use that one guy that's going to have everybody like second guessing their protection plans. All right. We ain't got that guy yet. Let's just be honest. All right. Now I think Newton, he's a candidate to step up this year as far as like he definitely has some upside if he can take a step forward because he showed some pass rushing ability. He showed some ability to make some plays in the backfield last year, but kind of towards the end of the year. Of course, he coming off the injury in his rookie year, and then last year he you know he had minimal production in the first half, and then he kind of came on in the second half, culminating with that 3-sack performance against Dallas. But if he can take that next step forward into being a guy that really wreaks havoc, that really wreaks havoc on the defensive end, on that defensive line, then the middle of the D line will at least hold their own as far as going up the middle. All right. If he can take that next step, that's what I'm looking at. At the next level, middle linebacker. At middle linebacker, I think the hope and the prayer is that Sonny Styles goes on to have an illustrious Hall of Fame worthy career. That's the hope and the prayer. We all hope and pray that Sonny Styles is the savior at middle linebacker, that he's gonna go on to have it. Look, if he's at least a perennial Pro Bowler and probably cracks that all pro team at least once or twice, then I'd say mission accomplished with that one. All right. Um, we need him to go ahead and solidify that middle linebacker position. It would be great if he would be a superstar middle linebacker who's your next Ray Lewis. If we can get that out of him, oh my gosh. I mean, I ain't seen that you know, ever in our organization. As much as respect as I have for London Fletcher, as much respect as I have for London Fletcher, he was not a superstar at middle linebacker. If we can get a superstar at middle linebacker, he has all the physical attributes to become one. If the production matches his attributes and we end up getting a Hall of Fame player at the middle linebacker position, and I mean, that's the best you could possibly hope for. The best you could possibly hope for. And that's that next level of the defense up the middle. And I say mission accomplished with that one. All right. The next and final layer of the defense in the middle is safety position. All right. Again, um, well, let's just say in the safety position, I'm gonna call out Will Harris. And I picked Will Harris at this spot because although I think Nick Cross has the biggest upside in this defense, I think Devontae Jones and the new defense that we plan on deploying, I think he's going to have Nick moving all over the field. I think he's going to move Nick Cross in a number of different ways and use him in a number of different ways, not just in the middle. And that's going to leave Will Harris as that true middle of the field free safety that's going to live more so in the passing game. All right. So I think he'll be solid at that spot. I think he'll be solid. All right. Do I think he'll have a Hall of Fame worthy second half of his career? Not by any means. All right. So, I mean, anytime you want to, you can upgrade at that position if you want to. But I definitely feel like it's an upgrade over, what we had in Josh Harris' first season, at least with Jeremy Chin and Quan Martin. That combo. Chin, of course, was gone after the 2024 season, and Quan Martin is coming off arguably his worst season since becoming a pro. All right. So let's look back. So with Payne, Newton, and the Kinlaw committee in the middle of the line, then Sonny Styles at middle linebacker, and Will Harris at safety. I think they rebuilt and obviously upgraded the middle line. I mean, the middle of that defense. All right. So, like I said, Josh Harris talked about building from the middle and then out. You got Payne, Newton, Kinlaw committee, Sonny Styles at linebacker, Will Harris at safety. I think that's a definite upgrade. All right. So I think they made strides on defense from a roster standpoint, personnel wise. We're gonna get a little bit more in the scheme as we go position by position, but just going up the middle of that defense, the way Ron Rivera said Josh Harris wanted to build it. I mean, you got the potential at being all pro at multiple levels of the middle of that defense. All right. Hey, let's score some points now. Let's score some points and see how the middle of that offense looks since Josh Harris took over. All right. We're gonna cut right to the chase. Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels. The quarterback is the most important person in the entire organization, let alone the middle of that offense. The quarterback is the most important person in the entire organization, let alone the middle of that offense. All right. My personal opinion, this is me, Linwood Gray talking, LG talking. My personal opinion is that the upside of Jaden Daniels is the absolute best in the league. the absolute best in the league. And I'm super confident that he'll prove to be top 5 in the league this year. He's going to prove it. Top 5 in the league this year, Jaden Daniels. That's the most important person that you got in your organization, quarterback position, middle of the field, middle of your offense, the central figure of your organization. Jaden Daniels is going to be top 5 this year, proven, and I think he has the best upside in the National Football League, period. He will be further down the road the best player in the NFL. The best player in the NFL, period. So that's what you got in the middle of your offense right there. You got the best player moving forward in the middle of your offense, and Jaden Daniels, the quarterback, my quarterback. Jaden Daniels, number 5, middle of the offense. He will be the best player in the National Football League. So you can't get no better than that, than best. Can't get no better than that, than best. Next, moving on next in the middle of that offense, you got your center. Center is a very underrated position. All right, center is very important. Very important. All right, and I think we all thought that we had our center for the next 10 years in Tyler Biadasz. All right, we thought that position was solidified. But they cut him out of nowhere. They cut him this offseason. All right. After some back and forth, some little, scuttlebutt here and there, my sources tell me that they think Nick Allegretti, they think he might be more of an upgrade from a cerebral standpoint. He might be more of a cerebral upgrade over Tyler Biadasz, in that they believe Allegretti will benefit the entire offensive line. And the way he'll benefit the entire offensive line is by getting them in the right protection calls and checks at the line of scrimmage. The scuttlebutt is that while Biadasz might physically dominate his opponent, the guy right in front of him, all right, they think he might have been more concerned about winning his individual matchup. And that might have led into some unfavorable results at times for the O-line overall. So they want to get more production out of the line and the protection plan overall by getting the best leader, by getting the best guy that's more equipped to make the calls at the line of scrimmage that's going to benefit the whole line, not just his matchup, not just what makes him look good. So Allegretti, he might get manhandled on some matchups, but he'll get everybody in position so that the line as a whole will have the best benefit in the game as a whole, not just him dominating his matchup. But having said that, look here, the jury is still out. All right, it's out. The jury is still out on this center thing. One thing we know though, while the jury is out, is they made a serious play for Baltimore Ravens former free agent center, 3-time Pro Bowler Tyler Lindenbaum. They made a play for him. I advocated that they do whatever they need to do to get him going into free agency. That was one name I was looking at like the whole time moving into free agency. All right. And they made a move for him. That's all reports indicate that they made a move for him. So they obviously had plans of upgrading the position. All right. But ultimately they got beat out by the Raiders, who gave him, one of them ridiculous, you got to be kidding me level contracts for a center. And that contract was, I would, even though I advocated that they get Tyler Linderbaum, I would not have advocated them paying as much as the Raiders paid for that dude. Not for no center, So we'll see. We'll see how Allegretti is able to perform this year. We'll see if they made a mistake or not made a mistake at letting go of Tyler Biadasz. All right. We just got to see what happens on the field. All right. Middle of the field, Jaden Daniels, quarterback, Nick Allegretti, center, and finally at running back. Now, look, this drama right here, honestly, this is one of the most intriguing positions that we going to dive way deeper into when we do the running backs on our State of the Roster series. We're going to dive way deeper into it. But I offer this for right now. whoever emerges as the number one carry, bona fide go-to guy, whoever emerges out of that between who I think is a two-man race between Bill Krosky-Merritt and Katron Allen, rookie out of Penn State. Penn State's all-time leading rusher, by the way. I got big high hopes for Katron Allen. But whoever emerges out of that competition between Bill and Katron Allen as the go-to guy, the guy with the most courage, the guy that really is the bona fide go-to guy at running back, whoever that ends up being is definitely going to be an upgrade over Brian Robinson Jr. All right. Brian Robinson Jr., yes, that guy who is on his third team in 2 years. It is an upgrade over Brian Robinson Jr. I got love for Brian Robinson Jr. I got love for his story, his plight. I understand he was shot, in the middle of Southeast DC on his rookie year. I understand all that. He was tough at coming back and end up playing 5 weeks later. I got love for all that. However, it's going to be an obvious upgrade at whoever comes out between Bill Krosky-Merritt and Katron Allen. It's going to be an obvious upgrade. All right. So, on offense, in the middle of the offense, we was talking about Josh Harris building from the inside out. So in the middle of the offense, in review, we got Jaden Daniels at quarterback, best in the league. We got Nick Allegretti, jury's still out. And we got the winner of the Bill versus Katron combo. I think that's going to be an obvious upgrade over Brian Robinson Jr. Do I even got to ask if those three is an upgrade over Sam Howell, Brian Robinson Jr., and the disaster at center that was Nick Gates, who was benched for Tyler Lawson, who was eventually replaced by Ricky Stromberg due to injury. You guys remember that? Do you remember the end of the 2023 season when you had Sam Howell at quarterback, Brian Robinson Jr. at running back, and Ricky Stromberg at center? Did we upgrade the middle of that offense with Jaden Daniels, Nick Allegretti, and the winner between Bill and Katron? I think absolutely. We don't even got to ask that. That's like replacing Dan Snyder and Fred Smith with Magic Johnson and Josh Harris. It's an obvious no-brainer. Yes. Yes, it's an upgrade. Yes, it's an upgrade. And so I think Josh Harris so far has been true to his word whenever he told Ron Rivera that he wanted to prioritize building this team from the middle to the outside. I think he's been true to his word, and I think he's done a great job at it. All right? He's done a great job. Well, when I say a great job at it, of course he's not out here picking who's going to be on our roster, not as the owner of the football team, but he's done a great job at hiring the right people to execute that vision. The vision he had for our football team is that we build from the inside out with toughness, smart play, and building from the inside out. But he's not a football guy, so he hired the right people to execute that vision. And so far, they've been doing a great job. All right, I think in the middle of the football field, on offense and defense, we have obviously upgraded. So now we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when we get back, we're going to go ahead and do a deep dive into this roster with our first installment of Commander's State of the Roster. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to the Skins in the Berg podcast, your best source for Commander's commentary in the Carolinas and beyond. Again, I'm your host, LG. And like I said, we're going to take a deep dive into this roster. This is the first installment of the State of the Roster series. And we're going to start off with the front seven. Y'all know my mantra when it comes to football. All right, I done said it time after time after time. Run the football, stop the run, sack the quarterback, protect yours. If you can be the best, the very best at those four things, running the football, stopping the run, sacking the quarterback, protecting yours, you're going to be a contender to win the Super Bowl. Point blank period. If you can do all four of those things. If you can do all four of those things on a high level, you're probably going to win the Super Bowl. Point blank, period. So, the first position group that we're going to start out with, because this is what I hold to be most important, is we're going to start out with the front seven. And I'm calling it the front seven because of schematically what it looks like we plan to do, and the defensive coordinator that we hired during the offseason. He comes from Minnesota. And if you take a look at Minnesota's defense and the reports that you're hearing coming out of minicamp and out of OTAs, seems to be that we're going to adopt that style of defense. It's a very attacking, very aggressive style of defense where at the line of scrimmage, you have guys posted up at the line of scrimmage, all 11 right there on the line, looking like it's going to be a zero blitz, all out. We bring in the house. And then at the very last second, once the ball is hiked, we may bring the house, or we'll bring a few that you don't know who they're going to be, and we'll drop a few back, and you don't know who they're going to be. One of his biggest statements Daronte Jones made in his introductory press conference was, it's not about where we line up, it's where we wind up. It's not about where we line up, it's where we wind up. So that's why I'm breaking this down as a front seven, which is the defensive tackles, the defensive ends, and the linebackers, because they all gonna be on that line of scrimmage. All of them gonna be on that line of scrimmage. So it makes sense to me to kind of go through this guy by guy, position group by position group as a front seven. All right, as a front seven. Let's tackle that D-line first, in particular defensive tackles. We got the defensive tackles we got on the roster right now. And I'm gonna start at who every time I go through these, I'm giving you who I think is going to be their initial depth chart roster spot. So at defensive tackle, I'm gonna give you who I think is gonna be number 1 all the way down to who's gonna be the number 4 defensive tackle. All right, so number 1 defensive tackle I think is Daron Payne. All right, so we got Daron Payne, we've got Javon Kinlaw. Those to me are the 2 best defensive tackles. We got Tim Settle, Jazon Newton, Shy Tuttle, Jeffrey Mabia, and DJ Davidson and Ricky Barber. Now, the main players in this are Daron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, Tim Settle, and Jazon Newton. That's the main players, those 4 guys. Daron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, Tim Settle, and Jazon Newton. Now, let's start with Daron Payne. We know what we're getting in Daron Payne right now. We're getting somebody who's in his contract year. We're familiar with his game. We know what his ceiling is. We know what his floor is. We know that in a contract year, he's more likely to perform. Hopefully, whatever it is they asking him to do, whether it's taking on blockers or making plays in the backfield, he's going to do that at a high level because it's his contract year. I got him as number 1. Javon Kinlaw, see, all this depends on what we do schematically up front. If we in a 3-4 base defense, then Daron Payne and Javon Kinlaw might be your defensive ends, while Tim Settle will be your nose tackle. He's pretty good against the run when it comes to playing nose tackle in a 3-4 defense. All right. Jazon Newton in a 3-4 will probably play a little defensive end. However, he's probably the most equipped at getting to that quarterback. So that's why I got them as a kind of a 4-headed, middle of the defense, defensive tackle group. Daron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, Tim Settle, and Jazon Newton. The upside in this group is pretty good. It's pretty good. In a contract year, Daron Payne, Tim Settle, in the middle of that defense, and then Jazon Newton really motivated to solidify himself as a serious NFL player after getting drafted in the 2nd round and having the skill sets that he had and being a defensive player of the year in the Big Ten. The upside is pretty good. They got a chance at making some noise. We'll see. Shy Tuttle, Jeffrey Mabia, DJ Davidson, and Ricky Barber, I don't expect to be big-time contributors. I just don't. If we down to them guys, then something went wrong. Somebody got hurt. Something didn't work out the way we thought it would be. Defensive end, Charles Omenihu that we got out of Kansas City. Not a guy that's gonna live in your backfield making a bunch of plays. All right. Hopefully he's solid on that D end position. Hopefully, and I say D end in a 3-4. D end in a 3-4. Um, hopefully he can be stout. Set an edge. That's what we need from him. Dorrance Armstrong was the number one pass rusher in the football league before he got hurt. That's what the number said. You might disagree. I don't know if that passed the eye test, but the numbers say he was the number one pass rusher in the league before he got hurt last year. Whether or not that plays itself out after he recovers from injury, I don't know. Dietrich Wise, he looked good in the 1.5 games that he came that he played for us last year before ultimately getting hurt in that Green Bay game. Defensive end, again, we need him to be stout, hold that edge, be a big guy that's going to take on some blocks and make some room for the guys shooting in, making plays. All right, but we need him to do his job and be stout. Don't give up. Don't be a jag, just a guy. Try at least to hold down the fort for guys that's rushing in to make plays. Drake Jackson, man, if we got to see him on the field, something went wrong. All right. Now, next level of the defense as it relates to the front seven, linebackers. Because we talked about the defensive line, defensive tackles and defensive ends in a 3-4, because that looks like that's what's going to be our base defense. I think it's only appropriate to go after the outside linebackers first because they also on that D line in a 3-4 defense. We made significant upgrades at outside linebacker or that edge, whatever it is you want to call them. That guy that's on the outside of the defensive line, rushing in to sack the quarterback or rushing in to make plays in the backfield from that outside position. We had next to nothing last year, and now we've got like just a luxury of riches as it relates to those edge rushers. We signed guys, we drafted guys, we made significant upgrades in terms of speed, number in that age column. We made some serious upgrades. So let's go through them. First one, $100 million man, Odafe Oweh. Odafe Oweh, $100 million man. We're gonna have to see, man. I don't know. He hasn't had a consistent enough career for me to be overly confident that he gonna come in and earn his $100 million. He had a decent time at it last year. To me, he wasn't no superstar. Definitely don't have the consistency of a superstar. But they threw $100 million at him. Hopefully he earned it. We're gonna have to see it though. K'Lavon Chaisson out of New England. Again, man, we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't think he was a superstar by any means. Upgrade for sure. We had a problem with depth on that defensive line, particularly at edge rusher, rushing the quarterback. Maybe he's an upgrade. Hopefully he's an upgrade. I think what's going to be an upgrade is the number of guys we can deploy, number of guys we can send at you with ill intent. We drafted a guy, Joshua Josephs. One thing I can tell you about all the guys I've mentioned so far, their athletic profile is through the roof, off the charts. Their athletic profile, great height, great weight, great strength, great speed. They cone drills, everything that you want to see in the underwear Olympics. They're getting it done. We're gonna have to see what happens on the football field, if any of that translates on the football field, because while we're excited about the upgrades at the position athletically, we have not seen how this is going to get put together, how it's going to mesh, how these guys going to put it all together side by side, if it's going to result in actually stopping offenses from moving up and down the football field. Because I'm tired of seeing offenses move up and down the football field. Hopefully, this brings some results that provide some resistance from guys moving up and down the football field. Odafe Oweh, $100 million man, we got to see the results. K'Lavon Chaisson, signed out of New England, unrestricted free agent. Joshua Josephs, drafted, bit of a project, got some crazy long arms. If he can piece together his physical attributes and piece that with a mental game, combined with some moves, maybe get a little bit of a good mentorship, and he gets some results, hey man, upside could be through the roof. But I don't know. I ain't seen it out of all these. I haven't seen out of these guys. Javante Jean Baptiste. I've been hearing about him more than I've seen him. I keep hearing about this dude. I hear about him year after year. I don't hear his number called on game day. At least not enough. Not enough for him to leave an impression. To be like, okay, we got something good in Jadavion John Baptiste, Andre Carter. We'll see. But I tell you what, I do like our depth. I do like the upgrades at the position. We just got to see who emerges as a superstar, who emerges as a contributor, who those main contributors would be. But those are the guys, and those are the guys we're looking at to see what those competitions going to be. Next, linebacker. Off-ball linebacker really is what we can call it. Off-ball linebacker. Of course, everybody know we drafted Sonny Styles. Top 7 pick, Sonny Styles. So far, he's looking the part, man. In OTAs and minicamp, he's looking like a top 7 pick. He's communicating well, seems mature beyond his years, getting to the facility early, staying late, got all the physical attributes, got some want-to, apparently enjoys playing football, likes all the process and all that. Hopefully he becomes a perennial Pro Bowler, maybe even get him an All-Pro or two, and has a Hall of Fame career in the middle linebacker position. That's the number one thing. Leo Chanel. We signed him from Kansas City. Again, athletic profile, crazy, through the roof athletic profile. Fast, strong, good size and weight. Man, I'm telling you, we going to come off the bus looking like we there to do business. Hopefully that translates into we're there to do business. Jordan McGee, same type of dude, man. Athletic profile, crazy. Fast, looks like an Adonis. Look like he a weight room warrior. Hopefully he's good at football, man. But we've made enough investment into the linebacker position to where now a guy like Frankie Louvu might get pushed down a notch. Who knows? Depending on our usage. Because he's not a big-time athletic dude. He does have a high motor, big-time motivator, veteran. It looks like it's important to him. Maybe that 1-2 and the know-how will, I guess, overcome maybe some lack of athleticism. But we'll see what we got, man. El Ocajo, whatever his name is, and Kane Madrano. Really Kane Madrano. Let's get to him first. Another athletic dude. We'll see. Kane Madrano. Made some plays last year, especially on special teams. We'll see what he got at the linebacker position. But the main thing is we got Sonny Styles, Leo Chenal, Jordan McGee, and Frankie Louvu. Them 4 dudes right there. If we can keep them 4 dudes healthy, we're going to see how Devontae Jones wants to deploy him. But I think they're going to make plays. The scuttlebutt is we sending them. We sending them to a backfield near you. And I'll be very pleased if that's how we deploy. I like aggressive forms of defense. I like dictating to the offense. This what we doing. We coming. What you gonna do? Not sit back, read, and react. Think of all the different possibilities of all the different ways you can pick us apart. See if we can chip away at a few of them urges. No. We coming. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when we get there? You got a plan? You got a plan for this zero blitz? Because we coming. No, you don't know who coming. One of these 4-3 dudes is coming. One of these 4-5 dudes is coming. One of these 4-4 dudes is coming. They coming with strength. They coming with power. They coming with speed. What you gonna do? That's what you got to figure out as an offense when you're facing our defense. And best case scenario, These guys with their athletic profiles, hopefully they match what it is we trying to do on the defensive end, because we coming is what I hear. And when we coming with some speed. These guys, man, these guys are fast, man. We went from being one of the slowest teams, one of the oldest teams in the National Football League, into being one of the fastest, at least on defense in the linebacker position, one of the fastest, most athletic position groups you ever want to see. Ferocious in their athletic profile. If they can translate that into some football, my goodness. My goodness. I hate to see it if I'm an offense. If they could translate all that into football, I hate to see it as an offense, man. Front seven might be a problem, or it might be a liability. We don't know. Too many ifs. Upside, though. Upside could be one of the best in the league. If we could get the absolute best out of these guys like Leo Chenal, guys like Sonny Styles, who's going to be the most athletic inside linebacker tandem in the 3-4 defense in the National Football League. Yes, I said it. Sonny Styles and Leo Chenal will be the most athletic inside linebacker tandem in the National Football League. If that will translate into plays on the field, and then you combine that with the outside linebacker play of Adafe Owe, $100 million, the Davion Chason, Joshua Josephs, then that front seven can really do some things. Deron Payne in a contract year. Boy, it just get better and better. It just get better and better. What do I think? Linwood Gray, LG. What does LG think gonna happen? I'm optimistic, man, because I'm a believer in Capitol Heights, Maryland own Durante Jones. I think he had enough chicken wings and mumbo sauce to really rub off on him and make some intelligent decisions as it come to building this defense. I got confidence in Capitol Heights own Durante Jones to deploy these guys into making plays. I think we're going to do it. I think when you look at Deron Payne in a contract year, you look at Jerzon Newton trying to solidify himself as an NFL player and a former Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten. When you look at the number 7 overall pick in Sonny Styles at middle linebacker, all right, when you look at right next door to him, Leo Chenal, one of the most athletic linebackers we've ever seen in the history of the National Football League. All right, when you look at $100 million man Adafe Owe as an upgrade at the pass rush position, outside linebacker. When you look at Davion Chason, when you look at Joshua Josephs, fresh pup, coming in with some fresh moves and some fresh energy. I think that front seven is a very formidable front seven, but when you combine it with scheme, you combine it with what we plan to do with those guys, I think that's a dangerous front seven. Full of multiple Pro Bowls and multiple All-Pros and multiple Hall of Fame careers based on what the results would be on the field. You heard me say it. Today, Monday, 22nd of June, 2026. Defense will be top 5 because of that front seven. Bold prediction right there coming at you. Defense will be top 5 because of that front seven. All right, argue with your mama. I know I'm going to probably argue with mine. Top 5 defense because of that front seven. We're going to keep it going, man. Next installment, I'm not even going to tell you what the next installment going to be, but I'll give you this hint. You know where I think football is won at. You know I think football is won in the trenches. See if you can guess what the next installment of the State of the Roster is going to be right here on the LGG channel. Skins in the bird.
Don't know if you heard, we got skins in the bird. Yeah, skins in the bird.